have you looked into any of the evidence of voter fraud or election fraud that's been put forward in South Carolina from 2020 and from the primary?
Our staff gets hundreds of requests to review things. They get sent to appropriate law enforcement. We don't investigate. We don't have investigators.
We asked South Carolina's top law enforcement official for the truth. What's being done to fix 2020? It's the real elephant in the room at the state's GOP convention.
We don't have investigators. We have investigators for like Medicaid fraud, ICAC. We don't. People send it. Can you investigate? I can't investigate it.
Alan Wilson, Attorney General's here in the room somewhere. Alan, wave.
Attorney General Alan Wilson and his stepfather, Congressman Joe Wilson, have a long family history in South Carolina politics. Both were welcomed and spoke at the convention, but not a word about fighting for President Trump.
Tell me about the rigged and stolen election that President Trump keeps talking about.
Well, hey, to me, I voted to provide that the Arizona count was not appropriate because it violated the Constitution, and that indeed, by extending the ability of absentee registration, that was illegal. I voted against the acceptance of Pennsylvania, where there was a provision where the Supreme Court that had been elected by George Soros, that they were going to extend absentee voting to include ballots that hadn't even been postmarked or signatured.
Wait, did he just mention George Soros? And what about that lapel pin that is half American, half Ukrainian? Oh yes, Joe Wilson and his son Alan held a rally on the State House steps in support of Ukraine. We asked him, what about America First policies and fixing what many believe is a fraudulent election?
Did you vote to certify the 2020 election results?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because but I voted against acceptance. But overall, we need to get through this so we can go to what we should be doing, and that is discussing the issues. And I want to go to the next election cycle.
So just move along? Nothing to see here? Well, his own county just officially rejected the 2020 election results, joining a growing number around the country. Patriots are reorganizing leadership and pushing for that full forensic audit.
Absolutely. I ran for Congress in Congressional District 7, and I met so many people who say that they voted straight Republican, and when that confirmation ticket printed, no one they voted for was on that ticket.
And so what we do is when someone alleges that some crime has occurred, we send it to whoever the state agency or the law enforcement agency with the investigators.
And then you follow up on that?
Well, they send us an investigative report. And then the prosecutors make a determination based on what's in the investigative report.
This map shows apparently more than half the state had fraud, rampant in red, potential in yellow.
I met two men in Hartsville who said they both voted straight Republican. Everyone was on the ticket except for Trump, and it was given to the Green Party. I found that over and over and over again. So we have a machine problem. Absolutely. So there's fraud there.
So why won't they talk to us about the machine problems?
No, seriously. What's going on to get rid of the ES&S machines?
Go back and read the bills that are in the State House right now. You do that and then call me.
No, but
do that and then call me.
Will you do that?
Will you do that for me? Go back and read the bills. Have you read the bills?
Listen,
have you read the bills? Have you read the bills?
Will not be passed.
Have you read the bills?
Will the bills be passed before the
Hopefully they'll be passed in the next 2 weeks.
In the next 2
weeks? In the next 2 weeks, yes.
And then we can
go
get
back
rid
and
of
read
the
the bills.
ES&S? What's your position?
Go back and read the bills. Thank you very much.
Okay. Don't be so combative. This is like for the public. Drew, stop, seriously.
Ma'am.
Let's just have a conversation.
You don't want to have a conversation with me. That's why you got this.
Hey.
Oh,
my phone.
Please, Louise.
Let's just have a conversation.
Why don't you?
Seriously. Drew.
You can't have a conversation without a telephone?
I can.
Can you have a conversation without a telephone? No, you can't.
Public.
Okay, you're not being very mature. Thank you very much. I told you to go back and read the bill and call me, and I'll talk to you on the phone. Would you like
What
that?
is your position on the
Call me on the phone.
machines? No, your
Thank you very
position
much.
as head of. Oh my gosh. Republicans count on you. Like conservatives are counting on you to make sure we have a free and fair election.
Reports. No one wants to let fraud go. We're not.
No, my only concern is this timeline is September 3rd, and they're using this AG opinion as an excuse to not give us proper public information. Public records. And so we just want to be
And I
able
haven't
to...
read that specific AG opinion.
They do know that time is running out to preserve the cast vote record for evidence, don't they?
Attorney General Alan Wilson was presented with all the evidence.
He was presented with a summary and of it. I personally did it with his whole staff, as well as SLED. And I personally delivered it with Vic Dabney to SLED, about 20 of the binders. And we had about 140 of them.
And you've heard nothing from them?
Nothing.
Hey, also, we need to address voter integrity, okay? And so, and that was done on the state level and needs to be done at every level. And
we still don't have same-day voting or
Hey, mademoiselle, I am very much for what you said, okay?
Same-day voting, paper ballots too?
Well, my view, you can have electronic ballots which have a paper trail, and then you'll be able to look at it, okay?
Wait a minute, is that a wink we just saw? What's going on here? Does Congressman Joe Wilson really believe electronic voting machines and tabulators cannot be hacked and corrupted? South Carolina's Safe Elections Group put out this map from U.S. Cyber Command showing the vote in the South Carolina 2020 election going to multiple locations overseas, 66% to China. Foreign interference.
I know what we're prosecuting. At least I sign off on the indictments when they come through.
So you haven't signed off on any?
I don't. That doesn't mean there's no investigation.
But there hasn't been any prosecution for fraud
I
that
got
you're aware of?
8,000 cases going on right now. I can't tell you what. I'm not going to comment on ongoing investigations, especially when I haven't looked at them.
Do you think there's been fraud?
I can't comment on that.
From the convention to the Capitol, we are not happy on how the votes went down.
No, the South Carolina election integrity laws that were just passed, some say just legalize more fraud. They don't go nearly far enough.
And they don't. There should be no machines and there should be same-day voting.
But the so-called America First Policy Institute just put out this map showing South Carolina in green for having key voter protection laws.
The state of South Carolina is green. I saw Drew McKissick and the SCGOP send that out. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. We are not an election integrity state by any means or measures. We all know South Carolina is rated the most liberal red state in the nation, and we need to flip that.
How do we do this without same-day voting and paper ballots?
I fully agree. It is a massive issue. The problem is how many legislators are fighting for same-day voting and paper ballots? None, as far as I'm aware of. What do? We actually went reverse. We now have 2 weeks of early voting. We should have same-day voting, not 2 weeks of early voting.
Why are people saying this is a wonderful election integrity bill in South Carolina?
Our friends aren't saying it. People that are fighting for election integrity are not saying it. They're saying it's just more of the same. It's the talking points, the issues and problems and concerns out there. There's a lot of people, a lot of good conservative Republicans. South Carolinians are good conservative Christian, by and large, folks, and what we want to do is educate them on how they're being fooled by our legislature. And what we teach people is, watch what they do, not what they say.
Meanwhile, at the convention, no debate on the real issues.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
It appeared that things were orchestrated prior to, and that the people who had contrary thoughts were railroaded, and that's the way the sense that I got. I'm a delegate, and we had red and green cards in our packet on whether we were going to vote for something or not. Well, there were many things to discuss, from what I understand, as far as rules changes, this kind of thing. Those weren't discussed.
Adopt the rules, signify with your green card. If you wish to not adopt the rules, signify with a red card. Point of order. Yes. Point of order. Before you call the point of order, I called the vote on that. So in the division vote, the green cards are successful and have adopted. Clearly conservative. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, for the point of order, it requires a 2/3 vote.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure that we got
for that, and clearly what the staff members would have here, clearly it did.
It was presented as vote on it as a block and accept them fully. Well, that's not what we were here for. We were here to discuss those rules and those changes, but that never happened because there was boom, 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 and it's gone.
Why do you think?
Well, there are powers that be that want those rules in place that they instituted to, I believe, prevent people of different thoughts, maybe more conservative thoughts, to change the way things have been running for quite a long time.
It was very disappointing to see, the time and effort spent from driving everybody around the state driving here for, a meeting that was just show and bragging about what, Trump did for America and Drew McKissick taking the credit for it. And then the important issues, the rules and the resolutions were just rammed through.
So I tried to move at a slow pace. Sometimes I felt like I was free falling, having to consult with my parliamentarian, but I felt good about it.
Some people felt like they got railroaded. There wasn't a chance for discussion.
So I tried to give everybody each opportunity, and that's what I thought it was devolving a little bit when you'd have one person yelling, "We called the vote," and another one wanting to speak. I tried to let everybody speak as much as I could. It was clear when the votes took place.
Debate at all on the rules, regulations. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, absolutely.
Just cutting to the heart of it.
Sure.
And
there's no doubt there was no debate on the substance of the rules, but if you recall, the discussion during the division was whether to divide them out. We never got to talk about the individual rules because the body voted to keep them all together. Because that was our whole initial discussion, and I fully anticipated, from what I was hearing, at least in the audience, that we were going to divide all 8 of them out.
That seems strange too. People drive all this way and they want to talk about changes in their party, and they never have a chance to speak or hear debate on it.
Well, I guess, it comes back to the rules and the will of the majority there.
So there was no discussion on the rules or the proposed
Normally
resolution.
there's not. Normally you look at the rules and you vote on them as a whole, just like we did today. And that's in past conventions, that's what we've done. And I think it was handled the best way. People had a chance to look at it.
Wait a minute, let's review how this went down. The South Carolina GOP convention hasn't even started yet here in Columbia, and already there's some fireworks. People say the GOP leaders are trying to undercut delegates and President Trump.
And they recently came out with a long list of proposed rule changes and resolutions, and I'm a state delegate. The convention starts tomorrow. We're here at the Silver Elephant Banquet, and several other people have said they haven't received it, and it's within 24 hours of starting the convention.
And the vote is tomorrow morning.
Correct.
And they say these proposed rule changes are nothing more than a huge power grab by state GOP Chairman Drew McKissick and company over We the People. In another twist, the Silver Elephant fundraiser featured U.S. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, who was just endorsed by President Trump, even though McCarthy has stated that nobody is questioning the legitimacy of the election. So Speaker Kevin McCarthy did come to the convention and speak late.
Yes.
Apparently he was delayed by a last-minute vote Nancy Pelosi called on assault weapons, I guess.
Yes,
something
against our
else.
Second Amendment. That's right. So he got here late to the party.
He did get here late, and then he showed up late here at a nearby steakhouse where we asked for an interview, but they said it was too late.
Yes, we asked just for 2 minutes, but they said that it was too late for him. He'd had a long day. And so maybe we'll be able to have him on next week.
In the next week or two. We're supposed to give him a call, and we asked about the votes tomorrow. And
what votes?
What votes? The last time we saw Leader McCarthy in South Carolina, he was meeting with Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who asked to retake this picture with masks on. Nancy Mace was noticeably absent and unmentioned at this year's GOP convention.
So what we're going to do is we have to flip the legislature. We have to flip House reps and state senators that are not interested in pushing these types of issues. We need to get good patriots in those seats. And how we do that, we get the full bully pulpit of the state SCGOP in all 46 counties, and we start pounding the table and we expose who they are. We expose my House rep, Jason Elliott, right there.
County by county.
Yes. We're going to take over all 46 counties. But the more they do to protect themselves, the more we can get rid of them.